when I go to arbitrate. Them a say never back it off of me. One mama fi cry over me. Hey, what a day when me jump out. What a day when me jump out.
Blessed, all my viewers and subscribers. Welcome back to the channel, you see me? So peeps, today we're gonna take a look into the situation where the dancehall superstar Mavado son was released from prison after losing 7 years of his life, spending it behind bars, all because somebody made an error. You get me as a people? Imagine being sentenced to life simply because another person made an error. And this was disclosed by the appeal court. You know what I mean? The appeal court said that the trial judge had made an error in a way that the evidence from the sole eyewitness was treated. Get the as people say, you know, Dantay Brooks is free and is out of prison. You know what I mean, people? And as I say, according to the appeal court panel, the judge that did the trial made a very, very crucial error, resulting in the miscarriage of justice. Get me, I say, a young man sentenced to life in prison all because of an error that somebody else made. You know what I mean, people? So we're going to take a look at the situation which led to this. So peeps, back in June 2018, there was some flare-up of violence in the Cassava Peace area. And I know on June 5th, in that same year, there was a home invasion and a murder that transpired in the Cassava Peace area. Same year, there was a home invasion and a murder. The allegations are that a group of men entered the home of Lorenzo Thomas, who was at home with his father. And the allegation is that Lorenzo Thomas was shot in the head. There were attempts to behead him, and when that did not work out, you know what I mean, he was caught on fire as also the premises. And you know, the house that he occupies with his father was not hurt, you know what I mean? His father was unarmed and his father was the sole witness in this case. So this case is a case that was in the media for some time. There are a lot of speculations, you know what I mean? People are speculating many things. So this is a case that was basically out in the air. So it makes you wonder, you get me? Dantay along with Andre Hines were arrested and taken into custody where they stayed until they were eventually both convicted of murder in the year 2021, where they were both given life sentences. Get the massive people, you know, at that time Dantay was 18 years old and Andre was 26 years old. Two very, very young men. And I know, people, this is a case that was tried without a jury. And I know, peeps, after spending about 7 years in custody, because prior to the conviction, these young men were not granted bail. So they ended up spending a total of 7 years in custody. They get them as a people. So it set away on the 7th of March 2025, Dantay Brooks and Andre Hines had their convictions overturned, their sentence quashed. And I know these convictions were set aside by Justices Mavado Bishop, David Fraser, and Kisak Leng, who urged the appeal from last December. The judges cited that the trial judge erred in the treatment of the identification evidence, which was unreliable, and credibility issues with the sole eyewitness as reasons for acquittal. The judges said, "We are of the view the failure of the learned trial judge to adequately warn himself of the dangers inherent in the identification evidence, combined with the deficiencies in his treatment of the identification and matters going to the credibility of the prosecution's sole eyewitness, resulted in the applicants being deprived of the safeguards developed by law to prevent the gashty risk of conviction and unreliable evidence of identification," they said in the published judgment. So you know, peeps, basically a lot of the evidence was based on hearsay, and you know, the judge did not adequately follow the procedures as it relates to treating with evidence. Otherwise, there would not have been a conviction in the first place. And you know, the prosecution also acknowledged the fact that the trial judge had made an error in his treatment of the evidence. And as such, the prosecution did not even seek to have a retrial because really and truly there would be no case because the sole eyewitness in this matter was basically not credible. So Brooks at that time was in custody since he was about 16 years old. And I mean people are 15 thereabouts. So he was in custody from he was a child. When he became an adult at the age of 18 years old, he was tried as an adult, convicted in the Home Circuit Court, and ordered by Justice Leighton Pusey to serve 22 years in prison before he would be eligible for parole. He was also slapped with a 15-year sentence for arson, a 20-year sentence for illegal possession of firearm. Hines, who at that time was just 26 years old, was ordered to serve 17 years before parole and given similar sentences for the same two charges. So the prosecution was basically relying on the sole eyewitness, who was Thomas's father, who indicated that he knew his son's killers from the community and had not only seen the faces of both men, but had also recognized them in the dark, had also recognized their voices. However, both men maintained their innocence and said they were never at the scene of the crime. So peeps, these are the grounds of appeal for Brooks, were that the trial judge had erred in eliciting and admitting hearsay evidence, not directing himself on the question of the applicant's alibi, failing to properly direct himself on the question of voice identification, and failing to warn himself adequately of the dangers of mistaken identification/recognition. His legal team also argued that the judge placed considerable reliance solely on the truthfulness of the witness as opposed to the accuracy of the identification. So there were a lot of inconsistencies as it relates to the witness and as it relates to the evidence itself. You know what I mean, people? A lot of things were just not making any sense. You get me? So it makes you have to wonder if some of the times, you know what I mean, because of the social media era that we are in now, you know, everything is on the media. You know, it kind of makes you wonder if these media reports are causing some of the judges to have a preconceived notion as it relates to whether a person is guilty or not, because nowadays once a high profile case is in front of the court, you know that a lot of information will be out there in the media. A lot of persons will be doing blogs, a lot of persons will be giving their own view, you know what I mean, their own opinion of the situation, which makes you wonder. You get me, I say, people, very, very serious times, you know what I mean? Because I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's a life, and if you are convicted wrongfully and sentenced to life in prison, trust me, people, based on the fact that the judge made an error, then that can be a serious scar on your future. You know what I mean, people? I would not wish that on no one, people. You know what I mean? When there is sufficient evidence to prove that yes, a person is guilty, that person should face the full extent of the law. But whenever there is not sufficient evidence to prove that yes, beyond any doubt that this person is guilty, you know what I mean, it is one of the cruelest things to send a person to prison in that manner. You know what I mean? Knowing that the person is actually innocent, you know what I mean? And that person within themselves, knowing that they are in prison for a crime that they actually did not commit, but because somebody said they did it. You know what I mean, people? It's really, really rough, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Let's hope that in future, these kind of occurrences do not happen again. You get me, as a people, because it's rough to spend 7 of your best years behind bars for something that was really not proven to be done by you. You see, as a people, persons who get themselves involved should face the full penalties of the law, but all the policies and guidelines must be followed to ensure that innocent persons are not sent to prison. Because most of the times when an innocent person, maybe because of somebody else's malice against that person, you know what I mean, somebody might just be malicious and something happen, they may like you and decide say, you what now? And you forgot prison feet, and then come out and then put a case forward against you. Remember, the system have to work with the information where them get. Once a person say, well, sound like it makes sense, then eventually, it's up to the judge to really listen to the evidence, and try to determine how credible the evidence is, because remember, this is a person's life. You see what I say, people? Yeah, man, and say, life and a joke thing, you see me? But, the good thing is, at least, it never really do a whole heap more than 7 years in a custody before him appeal actually come through, because some of the times appeal take long to come through. Sometimes man in a prison for 20 years, 15 years before them appeal actually come through. And when it born out that person is actually innocent, then it's rough. You pay a lawyer a whole heap of money, cause a million to pay a lawyer, so on and so forth, you see me? And afterwards you find out that the person actually innocent, or there was mistreatment as it relates to the case itself, where certain guidelines were not followed. Even if you look at the Vybz Kartel case, you can see that the jury was the issue. One member of the jury was making an attempt to bribe other members of the jury, and once that happened, automatically the jury is compromised, and once the jury is compromised, then there has to be a retrial. The case has to start over again. The case was going on for so long already. It was the longest trial in history of Jamaica. Very long trial, because of that maybe the judge has said, well, I'm not interested to go through the trial process again. And as such, Vybz Kartel that one is appeal based on that. You get the master people, based on the judge's error again. All in all, everyone who have them job to do have to just do their job and try to execute to the best of their ability. Ensure that fairness is the order of the day. No one is treated unfairly or unjustly. People? But it is good to know that Dantay Brooks is actually free and was not subjected to spending his entire young life in prison because of a crime that he did not commit. You get the message, people? And as you know, Dantay's father, David Brooks, aka Mavado, was really happy to know that at least justice was served in Jamaica, and the prosecution acknowledged the fact that there was an error and it wasn't a situation where they would have to spend money for a retrial, or they would have to be going to privy council and so on and so forth. At least, the matter was resolved in Jamaica by the Court of Appeal in Jamaica. And these are the comments that Dancehall star Mavado made after his son's release. His comments were, "It's taken me some time to process all that has taken place, but I am ready to speak. To God be the glory. He comes first in everything we do. I am naturally elated, relieved, and full of joy that my son, Dantay, has been freed from the state-imposed hell he has endured for 7 years of his young life. But at the same time, there is a fire raging within me at the injustice, or as the appeal judges put it, substantial miscarriage of justice that has taken place. A trial without jury, decided on by a lone judge, who chose not to take into account the amount of times the single witness changed his statement, admitted to lying to the police, and fabricated his account of events. The prosecution could not properly contest the appeal and did not request a retrial, admitted along the way that they did not follow basic legal protocols. They sensationalized the story with outrageous claims that the post-mortem also proved to be lies. The question is, how did this even come to trial? We will be pursuing full legal action against all parties involved in this cruel act of injustice, and will not stop fighting until real justice is served upon those who perpetrated this awful, unlawful, and unwarranted action against my son and his co-accused, Andre Hines. The Court of Appeal has granted a full acquittal, showing how false, contrived, and concocted this whole case has been from day one. They also tried to drag my name through the mud to help them carry out their wrongdoings and garner headlines for themselves. Well, this story and those headlines are far from over and will be brought to bear. To face justice and accountability for their egregious actions and motivations, they are ashamed to their professions I would like to thank Mr. U. Wildman, who never had a doubt this miscarriage of justice would be overturned from the minute he started reading the court transcript. His leadership and bravery against a system designed to destroy the lives of innocent youth is a service to his country. Big up Mr. Azra Senior Smith for his sharp legal mind and assiduous work in freeing my son and Andre. Those were the comments made by Dancehall superstar Mavado after his son was free. Get him as a people, so even though Mavado is happy that his son is free, it is obvious that he's upset with the system that convicted him in the first place based on the fact that the evidence was not credible, and he himself knows that his son was innocent from the beginning and was hoping that the justice system would not have let him down. However, it was not like that. So that is just my bit on that situation. You can leave your reviews in the comment section, as also you can like, subscribe and share. Peace.